How's it going, everyone? I'm Dustin with Hard Cruise Racing. I was getting ready to wrap up for the day and go back inside, and I realized that, you know what, I should make a video real quick here on what is a guide coat. Okay, right here you can see some guide coat. I'm doing body work on my truck. Okay, body work. This is paint, but it's not paint. Okay, let me explain a second. So right now it's important that I go through and sand everything flat. I'm using simple things like an orbital sander, this cheapo block, simple little block, and some sandpaper in my hands. Okay. Now there's a bunch of big blocks out there you can get if you want bigger size ones to do the whole big side panel. There's other things you can get, foam blocks, you can get better sanders, blah de blah de blah. You can, but here's the thing. Okay, simple paint job in your field, whatever you want to say, you don't really need all that. There's going to be imperfections you need to accept and move forward on that. This isn't going to be some show truck. This is what I hook up to my race trailer to haul around things like race trucks and race motorcycles and blah de blah de blah. Okay, so guide coat. Okay, I grab that orbital sander and I'm going across these surfaces, and I want to break. I'm going to use the word break. You want to scratch at a microscopic level all the surfaces. So up here especially, you can see where this right here is a rough surface that needs sanded down. Over here is actually smooth right now. So after you go through and you sand everything, whether that's with the mechanical sander or with the block sander, you're going to go through and you're going to sand an area. Now I like to work little area by little area. So I work essentially here over. Now I'm working down this fender. But you're going to first sand some things down and get all what you think is the high points off. Okay. Now, in this process, you need to sand through clear, you're going to sand through base color, you're going to sand through primer, and then you might reach the metal. Okay, this up here, primer. This over here is still some clear. You want to sand through that stuff. Okay, you're trying to get rid of some of the other layers. Not necessarily getting rid of all the layers, but you want to get through some of them so you know you're working with a flat surface. So what I did is I used that sander and I went over everything. The orbital sander, the mechanical one, cheaper one you get from Walmart for like 30 bucks. Went over this area. Okay, in going over this area, there was a lot of spots where I was getting down to the primer. And I took my hand and I slid it back and forth across there. Don't look when you do this slide. Just slide your hand back and forth across there. Okay. What you're doing is you're trying to feel for highs and lows. You'll feel if it's rough. You'll feel if there's little bumps. If you look at it while you do that, there's a good chance you're going to trick your own brain into thinking you see something. Okay, if there's like a ridge, like here's a great example. That looks rough. If I feel it though, it's actually smooth. If I look at it though, I'll think it's rough. If I just take my hand, I don't look, and I go like this, there's a roughness here. There's a few bumps down through here. I can feel them. Okay, don't look at them, just feel. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is a guide coat, and that's what we're talking about today is a guide coat. For this guide coat, I'm using rattlecan. Go get the cheapest rattlecan you can find on clearance, and we're just going to mist it on it. There are professional guide coats. Okay, there is powders you can put on there, all this other crap. No, go get a rattlecan, just mist it like you see what I just did with this panel. Okay, this up here has been guide coated twice. And what I'm going to show you is, see right here, this was a drip in the original paint, drip in the clear. You can get nice close. See that? That was a drip. You can see one up here too. You can see these parts where I'm still sanding through, even though I've guide coated it and I've sanded it, and then I've guide coated it and I've sanded it. You're gonna find those spots. Okay. The other thing a guide coat's gonna give you is gonna give you a smooth color to be able to look into. So if I come over here right now, see that dent? I knew that dent was there, but maybe it didn't prior. Maybe you were dealing with a panel that was all like this, color flaking and clear flaking and stuff, and you weren't able to see the dent. But now you might be able to see that dent. Now, this is wet right now, but tomorrow when I come out here and I take the sander and I go over this, that spot right there is going to stay white because it's too deep in there. So, I mean, imagine a flat thing going across there. That's going to stay white, and that's going to tell me where my low points are at. That's how guide coat works. Again, I'm using cheap rattlecan. This is literally this cheap Rust-Oleum can. The one I used, if you watch my recent video, to paint my, it's dark here, to paint this race bike over here, this vintage race bike. I used a cream. That's what that paint is that cheapo cream paint I get from Walmart for $5 a can. Cable on there. Here. Tripped right over that. So that's how you use what was I talking about? Guide coat. That's how you use a guide coat. The reason I use paint is that if I sand this down, I can leave this on here right now and paint over it with my actual color, which is going to be a similar tan, similar off-white. So I'm using a color that's similar to what I'm going to use for the actual paint, but I'm not going to use it as the actual paint. The reason for that is now, say I was to be spraying this and miss a little area, it's the right color. So, yeah. So the next step is I'm going to sand this down, sand it, find my highs, get rid of my highs. That low needs to either be body fillered in or it needs to be hit from the other side with a hammer. I'll make my decision when I get there, and then I'm going to paint it a little thicker like you see right here. This still has stripes in it. Don't get me wrong, it's not painted, but we're just going to add another layer. That way we can sand over it again. So if we do have areas like this drip that we talked about earlier, right there, we can get those out. And guys, when I'm talking about misting, let me grab this paint. Okay, when I'm talking about misting here, you don't have to be great with it because you don't want to put lines. So get back and just mist it. Okay, don't overthink it. Just mist it. Okay, that's all you gotta do. And again, this is technically the color I'm going to be used, but this isn't my finished paint. Mainly because rattlecan, when it comes out, it's always going to have little spackles in it. It's always going to have a little texture to it. That becomes an issue mainly when you're going to put graphics on it. And this truck will have graphics on it. But like that race truck behind you, that was all rattle-canned. And then there was a whole graphic kit that I had to have for the series. If I walk around the other side of the truck, some of that will still be on there. Okay. Yeah, all these graphics back here in the back. And this one I put on there and things like that. The numbers are painted, as you can see, because they get beat up. In racing, you're always going to be banging doors, you're going to be hitting stuff. So, but these graphics back here, they had a heck of a time staying on because physically, rattlecan has a slight bumpy texture to it. You can't really add graphics and stickers to it. This back here I sanded. The other side doesn't have graphics on it because they fell off. It wasn't that I took them off. It was that they fell off throughout the season. All along the back here because I did not go in here and sand this. So if I feel it, there's a texture to it. Just little bitty bumps, okay? Especially back here, listen. Hear that? You're going to have that with rattlecan. It's not going to be the smooth thing. What I could do is paint with rattlecan, hit it with like, 600 grit or something, and then it would be smoother, but then you have to paint more on to be able to sand some off to make a smooth surface. But that's why I'm not rattlecaning my dually. But what I am doing, again, is a guide coat right now, just so I can use that to go in and find those highs and lows. You can see that I've already sanded through some spots that were high. That were high. That's how sanding works. So, yeah. I hope this helps. Again, this is just a little 9-minute video about what is guide coat, how to use it, and the benefits of it. Again, there are other products out there like a powder and stuff that some shops use, but you have to wash all that back off. This, if I leave some on, it's not a contamination for my further paint because it is paint. So that's why I'm going to go with rattlecan. I'll spend $5 on, for maybe $10, you could do the whole truck with guide coats and stuff like that. It's just a mist. But again, go to Walmart to the clearance section and buy the $2 or $3 cans that they're trying to get rid of, and you'll be good. So I hope it helps. Get out there, build cool things. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. Bye.